All right, let's talk about one of the biggest names in UFO lore, Bob Lazar. Back in 1989, this guy comes forward with a story that just completely blows the lid off everything. He says he was hired to work at this super secret base called S4, kind of tucked away near Area 51. And his job, you ready for this? He was hired to reverse engineer captured alien spacecraft. I mean, that one sentence made him an instant legend. To a lot of people, he's a hero, a martyr, who was persecuted by the government for telling the truth. But what if that's not the real story? What if there's a deeper game being played? Because when you dig into some of the counterintelligence chatter from that era, a much darker and frankly much more human story starts to emerge from the shadows. And that's really the question we're tackling here. What if Bob Lazar wasn't the whistleblower we all thought he was? What if he was actually the centerpiece of a brilliant military disinformation campaign, one designed to hide something else entirely? So, before we can deconstruct the legend, we have to understand what it is. Because Lazar's claims, his story, it basically wrote the playbook for the entire modern UFO conversation. Lazar's story wasn't vague, it was incredibly specific. He talked about these gravity-bending saucers, a propulsion system that ran on a stable isotope of element 115. He even described one of the ships in detail, the sport model. And it was all wrapped up in this massive government cover-up. You know, the story is so neat, so perfectly packaged, it almost feels like it was designed in a lab. And maybe, just maybe, it was. Now, the timing of all this is absolutely critical. Lazar tells his story in 1989. This is the height of the Cold War, and right at that moment, the US Air Force has a huge problem on its hands. They are secretly testing some truly revolutionary aircraft, stuff that could give them a massive advantage over the Soviets.
And here is the problem. This new tech, something called plasma stealth, had a very strange side effect. It made the aircraft glow. It made them move in ways that seemed to defy physics. So put yourself in their shoes. How in the world do you hide test flights of a glowing, physics-defying craft over the Nevada desert?
Well, the theory goes like this. You don't even try to hide the craft. That's impossible. Instead, you hide the truth about the craft. And to do that, you need someone to tell a different, more exciting story. You need the perfect pawn.
And this is where Bob Lazar walks onto the stage. The argument isn't that he was chosen for his amazing scientific mind, but for his very specific, very vulnerable profile. He was the perfect vehicle, the perfect messenger for a story someone else wanted to tell.
If you look at his background, a few things jump out. His academic records from places like MIT and Caltech, well, they're heavily disputed, basically impossible to verify. He was also reportedly in some financial trouble, which can make a person susceptible to influence. But the kicker is his claim that the government erased all his records. Now, instead of being proof of his story, think about that from an intelligence perspective. It's textbook. You want people to believe an asset? Make them look like a persecuted victim. You create a martyr.
Okay, so let's get to the fun part, the tech. This is where the whole story of aliens and the reality of top-secret military projects start to get, well, a little blurry.
This right here is the heart of the whole counter-argument. Look at how Lazar described the sport model. He said it had no visible seams, no engines, it made these sudden, erratic movements, it did these weird belly-up maneuvers. Now look at the known effects of a craft using plasma stealth. The plasma field would obscure any seams or engines, its flight path would be designed to look erratic to spoof radar, and the high-energy atmospheric effects could easily look like strange maneuvers. The descriptions, they match, almost perfectly. And just so we're clear, plasma stealth isn't science fiction, it's real physics. You basically wrap an aircraft in a cloud of ionized gas, plasma. This cloud literally soaks up radar signals, making the plane effectively invisible to enemy defenses. But the side effect? It glows. It creates weird visual effects. It looks exactly like a UFO.
So that brings up a big question. If the tech was man-made, why spin this huge, incredible yarn about aliens? Why not just deny everything, right? No comment. Well, because sometimes denial is the worst possible strategy. When you have a secret project that's impossible to completely hide, you run the disinformation playbook. You know people are going to see it, so you don't try to hide the sightings. You hijack the narrative around them. You create this incredible alien story. You feed it to a pawn like Lazar, and then mission accomplished. Every single person who sees your glowing test craft from then on is just another crazy UFO nut. The real military project stays perfectly safe, hidden behind a wall of public ridicule.
And just think about it logically for a second. If Bob Lazar had really leaked the single biggest secret in all of human history, why is he still around giving interviews?
Real whistleblowers, people who leak things like nuclear codes or CIA operations, they don't get Netflix documentaries. They disappear. The fact that Lazar was allowed to talk, that he became a celebrity, might be the biggest clue that his truth was actually the cover story.
Honestly, this is the most brilliant part of the whole alleged operation. The Air Force didn't have to spend a dime trying to debunk sightings. They outsourced the cover-up to the UFO community itself. Every time a believer pointed to a weird light in the sky near Area 51 and said, "See, Lazar was right," they were actually helping to hide a top-secret American military project. The operation was literally being fueled by the very people trying to expose a conspiracy.
So all of this brings us to a really unsettling final thought. It reframes the entire Area 51 legend. We've always been told to look to the skies for the truth, but maybe we should have been watching the magicians on the ground.
In this version of the story, S4 was never a hangar for alien craft. It was a stage, a meticulously crafted set designed to convince one man of an unbelievable truth, because they knew he would then go out and convince the world. For 30 years, we've all been looking for aliens in the shadows that were cast by our own man-made secrets.
So that's the question we're left with. Was Bob Lazar a courageous hero who risked it all to tell us the truth? Or was he the unknowing star of the most successful psyop ever pulled off? It's a story that still matters so much today, because it's a powerful reminder that as this new conversation about UAPs unfolds, sometimes the most out-of-this-world explanations are the perfect camouflage for secrets that are very, very much of this world.